All right, we're rolling.
All right, hello, everybody, and welcome to what I think is the fourth clinic, preseason clinic. Quinn's with us again tonight, our producer. Gerald Moyd again with us, and we're honored and privileged to have Rick McLean with us. Rick, thanks for joining us tonight. I don't know that you realize how much work I was going to put you to here, but we really appreciate you, buddy.
I'm ready for it.
All right, you always are. You always are.
Thank you.
We had a couple of really good questions come up, Quinn, from our backcourt discussion last week. So we want to just take a quick look at two clips so we can answer those questions, and we appreciate the questions. The first one is this play right here. If you just go ahead and roll it, Quinn, this is where the boy jumps from the backcourt, catches the ball in the air, and we did not have a backcourt violation on this play, but had we had a backcourt violation, the question is, where do we put the ball in play? Do we put the ball in play at the spot closest to where he landed, or do we put the ball in play somewhere else? The answer to that question is, it would have been a backcourt had 10 seconds elapsed. It would have been a backcourt violation because he jumped from the backcourt, left the court with both feet, was in the air. His status when you jump is where you came from. That's your status. Whatever your status was before you jump, that's your status while you're in the air the entire time. So when he caught the ball in the air, he was still in backcourt status. Had 10 seconds elapsed and a call been made at that point for a 10-second violation, the ball would have been placed where he left from, not where he landed. The sideline where he left from. So we'll show that, and I've got one more point to make about that. So let's assume he jumps from the backcourt and catches the ball right there. So we're going to go back. If you can point your cursor, yeah, we're going to go back, yeah, near the division line. But I want to make this point. When we put the ball back in play as a result of the backcourt violation, the team that's getting the ball for the throw-in, it can never be in that team's backcourt. It always has to be in that team's front court. Or if it's right on the division line, say the offense player steps on the division line, then you can put the ball in play at the division line. But any other time. But the point is, it can never be in that team's backcourt. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been a backcourt violation to start with by rule. Okay, so hopefully that answers that question. It's a great question. Did I say that right, Quinn?
Yep.
All right. And then the second one was the play where we caught a backcourt violation on the throw-in and there was none. And the question here is, how do we resume play? Do we put the ball back to the baseline where the throw-ins came from and put whatever time elapsed back on the clock? That's the question. And that's a great question. And it's a particularly great question because I've actually seen the wrong answer given to that question in a real-time game. So the answer is, we're not putting the time back on the clock and we're not taking the ball back to the baseline. If the question was, had we overruled and made the correct ruling, how do we put the ball back in play? So had we given the ball back to White? Is that correct, Quinn? Yeah. Had we given the ball back to White and said we were incorrect by rule, we're going to treat that as an inadvertent whistle play. Okay. Please do not treat it as a Rule 2 correctable error play, because it's not. But it is, if we can treat it and will treat it as an inadvertent whistle play once we decide to overrule. When we have an inadvertent whistle and we have an obvious point of interruption to return to, we go to point of interruption, regardless of why we had the inadvertent whistle. Anytime that we have an inadvertent whistle, we have a point of interruption to go to, we go to the point of interruption. The point of interruption here is White in possession of the ball. So White will get possession of the ball for a throw in at the sideline, closest to where the ball was when the inadvertent whistle blew. The problem with this play is suppose the player for white had not picked up the ball, and so the ball was still loose, and the player for black was contesting the ball, and then we have the whistle for a backcourt violation, and the crew gets together and said, no, there wasn't a backcourt violation because there was never possession. Now we have a real problem, because we're going to have to take that possession, well, that potential possession, away from white. Now remember, the scenario is here: white has not picked up the ball, not established possession of the ball ever. It's glanced off his hand, gone to the backcourt, and the player for black and the player for white are fighting for possession of the ball. Either one of them could get it, and we have the whistle. Now we have no possession, and we have no point of interruption to return to. So we have to go to the alternating possession error as a result of that inadvertent whistle. Everybody good with that? That's the ruling, folks. Thanks for the questions. Keep them coming. And Gerald, I think you said you had a question also on a backcourt situation.
Yes, someone asked a question at the clinic last night about one of the backcourts we discussed. Okay, we're in the front court. We have a shot. The ball comes off the rim, goes into the backcourt, and the offensive team that shot the basketball retrieves the ball, and they want to know, do we have backcourt? And the answer is no. Once we take a shot, there's no more team control. So anybody from that team that shot the basketball can go back into the backcourt and get it, because there's no team control once the ball is released. Right. So there's no backcourt.
So that's going to apply, Gerald, even if, let's say, that shot is taken, it comes off the rim, missed, a player for the shooting team touches the ball in the front court, tries to rebound it, glances off his hand or whatever, and goes directly into the backcourt from there. Even though that player was the first to touch the ball after the shot, they can still go back and retrieve it, correct?
Correct, because we never had team control in the front court.
Excellent. Anything anybody wants to add to any of that? Let's say no. Let's say no and we'll move on. Oh, by the way, on popular demand, Quinn, the puppies will be back for a repeat performance. I'm just not going to tell you when, because I want everybody to be on, pins and needles, on edge, waiting for this big moment. But it won't be tonight. Okay. We're going to be talking about something very, very important, and that is officials' position and movement. We've got several clips. Quinn and Rick and Joe have done a great job of breaking these down. Before we show the first clip, let me say this. I said last week, you got to get into the rule book. You've got to get into the mechanics book. All of us. You can know a rule backwards and forwards. You can be the best rules guy in the entire world, as Quinn is. But if you're not in proper position to see a play, you're gonna be an average at best play caller. Just like if you're in great position to see a play, but you don't know the rule, you're going to be an average at best play caller, at best. So positioning is everything. It's everything. Even when you miss a call, if you're in great position, a lot of times you can kind of get away with it, because the coaches are going to see that you've been, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt if you've got credibility to begin with. Okay. I hope that made sense to everybody. I can't stress it enough. Let's go ahead with the first clip.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to watch as this crew actually brings the ball up the court. I'm first of all going to say, and as Chuck just stated about knowing, being in your rule book and knowing your teams, you have to know that as well. But in this particular play, if you can run it back, there you go, Quinn. Look at the positioning of the officials and watch for the potential rotation. Remember, rotations, especially during a pass or a shot, a rotation is not completed until, in this particular clip, the C actually moves out to the new trail. And that does not happen because there is a loose ball on the floor. C stays exactly where he's supposed to. And what does our lead do? Our lead backs out as he's supposed to do, and he goes back to the position where he was. This is a great look at what C is supposed to do. He stays on the ball. He does not move until he actually sees who has that possession. And that was a turnover, so he stayed, and we didn't throw anybody off in our crew the way they worked the plan on this one.
Very good. Next clip. Gerald, you're gonna carry us through the trail's position on this one.
Yes, the trail is bringing up the ball. If you freeze it right there, Quinn, the ball is coming up slot side. The ball is coming up slot side in the backcourt. He's still responsible for the basketball because it's still in the backcourt. I love the fact that he comes onto the floor to get closer to the play, but I think he stays on the ball just a little too long once it get into the front court. When it gets to the front court, we have to hand this ball off to the slot and immediately run to the slot position ourselves as the trail. We just stay on the basketball a little too long here.
Yeah, and we're gonna have.
And now
the-
we, right.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So we're gonna end up having a rotation on this play, right? I mean, the ball's coming up, but sort of, I mean, to Gerald's point, right here, we've got the slot walking away from a matchup that's right in front of him. And what we need here is for the slot to just hold right here, because it's possible maybe she passes this ball back to the center of the floor and we don't have a rotation. But in this case, the slot keeps moving, I think in part because the trail does stick with it a little too long. So he thinks, okay, the trail's got it. And now the slot keeps moving down, and then we have a rotation, and now nobody's covering the matchup on the ball. And so then we have the slot come out too late. It's even too late. Let's say he just gets down here. I mean, right as soon as we see him running away, we've got to get up here and referee this play. So even if we made the first mistake of not staying back there, we've got to know where our partners are, and we've got to recognize more quickly that we need to get up towards the division line. Because if right here, if the ball handler gets bumped, we have no look at it. If the dribbler steps on the division line, we have no look at it. So this whole situation, as Gerald mentioned, of just sticking with the ball a little too long, it's thrown the whole system off. And now we have a really bad look at this play.
So would you take it back? Yeah, I agree. So would you take it back to where the trail official stuck out there in the middle of the floor, Quinn, for a moment?
Right
Yeah,
here?
so right there, that's great. So Gerald, I'm going to make one point, and then I'm going to ask you a question. You talked, Quinn, about this pass might come back to the middle of the court. You know, this pass actually might come back to this girl who's standing to the trail official's right. Yeah.
Right.
And if that pass comes back to her, that trail's in a lot of trouble. So he needed to be in a whole different position than he is. But Gerald, if you were the slot on this play, how would you have refereed this play differently than what we're seeing on this film?
I'm going to know that the ball is coming up slot side before they even get into the front court. So I'm going to be anticipating as soon as the ball crosses midcourt, I'm going to take the I'm going to take the play. And I'm going to take the play aggressively. This way it lets the trail know that I have now accepted this play and I am now on this play. That's perfect point right there. I have to be aware that the ball is coming up behind me. And if you go up a little further, as soon as the ball gets into the front court, it's my play. And I have to take it right here. And the thing about it too is what I like to say a lot, when we're in a position on the floor, sometimes we have to think like the other position. If I'm in the trail, I know when I'm in the slot over there, I'm going to take that play. So I know I can leave it alone. So let's think like the other positions sometime when we're on the floor. You're in the trail, you know how you would handle it when you're on the slot. Let that play go.
So Rick, I asked Gerald how he would officiate that play. And really the truth is it's not how Gerald would, that's how we're supposed to officiate that play, right, Rick?
Right, correct. Yeah, and what we haven't talked about is, and Gerald, you hit on it. I mean, as all of the officials on the floor should be knowing exactly, almost in sync with each other as to with these plays, what the others are going to do. I mean, lead should be already right there at close down, pinching the paint, getting ready, because we see that pressure on the ball up high that is opposite trail side. So we should be ready to go ahead and make that rotation. And as far as the slot should be ready to go ahead and aggressively officiate that play.
Very good. Quinn, anything you want to add?
Nope, I think we've hit it.
Very good, guys. It's really nice to be surrounded by experts. I appreciate you guys a lot.
Now, Quinn, if you can keep it right here, on this particular play, we look at a great movement by Slot. Now, he has a couple of clips that he improves on the second one, but this particular one, it's almost like they did a one for pregame and knowing where the shooters were, and when the ball gets kicked over right in Slot's lap, you'll see him make the adjustment that needs to be made to officiate that play. Remember, we need to move to improve our angles. Okay, Quinn. Ball gets skipped. He was a little slow on making the adjustment. It might have surprised him as early in the game, but he made the adjustment before she went up. He was able to see her feet. He was able to make sure he got in position. There's nobody running out on her immediately, but if they were, he would be able in position to see if there was contact on the inner elbow, if there was contact on the arm. He's in great position to see all of that.
Very good. Quinn, you want to talk about the matchup? I think the matchup I've asked you to talk about a little bit is the one with 0-0 white and 11 blue. Yeah.
So we do have, on this play and in this game, we have a post matchup here. So, right, we got to recognize, right, if we're the lead, right, that's in our primary, right. We've got to referee that matchup. One of the things we will see on this film, I mean, if you look here, the lead in terms of where his feet are is in a pretty good position. I think to referee this play. The problem is, I don't think he's refereeing this play. If you look at his shoulders, he's looking at the jump shot over here, right, which is a problem. So, I mean, lead, we've got to referee off ball, right? This is we heard it last night at the NCHSAA clinic. That's a point of emphasis, right? We got to referee this off ball in case we have a foul. Thankfully, we don't have one in this situation, but the lead is responsible for that matchup. So ideally, that's a pretty good position on the court. Maybe take a step to get a little deeper off the baseline and get your shoulders turned more 45 degrees towards that matchup and give you a little space to see that matchup a little bit better. But yeah, we've got to referee that play. And the biggest issue here is that the lead's just not refereeing that play.
Excellent. I think, Rick, you and I talked a little bit about the trail, what the trail's got going on this particular play, where he's looking, what he should be looking at, what matchup he's got. If you'd like to take over that conversation, please.
Right. With the trail, and we talked about trail working low, a little bit lower than this. We know we talked about the hash mark, but as you can see, he's very high, and he's not helping his crew way out here in this area where he is now. He starts to walk down as the play unfolds. But if we can run it back, Quinn, we'll see that there's a matchup that only he can actually see. No one else can see this matchup that's about to unfold, and it's right there at the elbow area, the ACC, 33 white and 25 blue. If there's a shove in the back, if there's an elbow in the head, if there is a hook and hold, no one else can see it. The C has a shot. The lead has 00 and the play on the block, and no one else can help on that play if we have any action there pulled down by those two players, except for Trill. And if he makes a call from where he is now currently, then we talk about credibility. There's no credibility there. He'll probably get the call right, but there's no credibility with that much space. So in Trill, let's look to work, especially when the ball has gone away from you, look to work low and help out. Your focus should go in the paint anyway.
Right here with the ball going away from him. If he gets to the 28-foot mark as that ball is being passed away from him, he's in a great spot to referee that play Rick's talking about.
Right.
But he's got to get there sooner. He does make an adjustment late, but I think it's while the ball's in the air. And at that point, it's too far gone.
I think we had a whole ball watching sequence there from everybody. But the other thing that we'll mention here just very briefly, by the way, I do like the fact that the lead official is hustling across the floor. We don't bounce the ball across the floor in high school basketball. He's going to have to put the ball in play on the other side of the lane line. The one last thing we want to talk about here, if we'll go back to that matchup, Quinn, that you were refereeing. Yeah, that one right there. So we have a situation here where potentially the player for blue is holding 00 white, hooking or holding or whatever you want to call it. I mean, potentially there's a foul there. There's some contact there on that play. And this circles back. I wanted to use that corporate speak for just a minute. This circles back to a discussion that we had in an earlier clinic presentation. While we don't want the lead to be watching the ball on this play, which I think he is, we do want the lead to know, we want the lead to see this action in his primary, but we also want the lead to know where the ball is at this time, because we don't want to, if we deem this to be enough contact to think that it's a foul, it's not a foul until it puts 00 at a disadvantage. And that ball's in the air. If we know that ball's in the air, we are not going to blow our whistle for that contact right there. We're going to wait to see whether we got to have a made basket or a missed basket. If we have a made basket, then I don't know how you can possibly argue that 00 was put at a disadvantage. And you certainly can't argue that that little bit of contact right there, that contact right there is going to lead to rougher play or something like that. I mean, that might be a situation where when the ball goes in the basket or it doesn't, and you don't blow your whistle, you at least maybe during the next opportunity to speak to 12 blue, you say, hey, you need to clean up your box out technique or something to let her know that you saw what you saw what she's doing, and it can't continue to play that way. If the ball doesn't go in the basket and we have a rebound, particularly if it comes off on 00's side, now the lead has a decision to make. If he's watching that play, he's got to make a decision about whether that in fact is a hold that hindered 00. But he doesn't have to make that decision now. And he doesn't have to make the decision if the ball goes in the basket. If it comes off the basket and he decides he needs to put a whistle on that, what you see right there, he just makes that call late. And it's going to be questioned because nobody else in the gym is going to see that action. And he's just have to have the fortitude either to ignore the comments that might be coming, or if he's got a chance to answer the question at some opportunity, you can answer it. Hey, it was a hold while the ball was in the air. Period. That's the end of the conversation. We okay with that, guys?
Perfect.
All right, we'll move on then.
All right.
This is a pet peeve of mine. Look where she is right now, where he makes her move to. I don't know why we did that. But if somebody can explain to me why we did that, send me an email and I will go online next week and publicly let Quinn spank me. Gerald, you don't get to do that, but Quinn can spank me. But having said that, let's talk just a second about the throw in. First of all, we're staying on this throw in. We have a front court throw in at the baseline. You don't bounce, you cannot bounce the ball. The book says we got to hand the ball off. Okay. This is not a COVID era situation anymore. So we hand the ball off. The position of the lead on this, the administrating official is correct in this situation. In this situation, he is to set up between the player throwing the ball in and the sideline. He does not take an inside position on this throw in. Okay. If the throw in was occurring outside where the 3-point line intersects with the baseline, Quinn, can you, I don't know if I said that clearly. So if you could point your, if we're going to throw the ball in, yeah, in this area here, then the book says we must take an inside position between the person throwing the ball in and the free throw line. One other point to make, this is a spot throw in. We know that this does not mean that the player throwing the ball in cannot move. I think we should, hopefully we all know that now. She's got, horizontally, she's got 3 feet, right? So she can take a step and a half to her right, a step and a half to her left once you give her the ball. She can also move back as far as she wants to within the physical constraints of the facility. So she can move back to that table if she wanted to, once she's got the ball. And once she's handed the ball, she can also move up to the line as closely as she wants to, as long as she doesn't step over the line onto the court. So those are the things I think we wanted to talk about in terms of free throw administration. If we're going the other way, if this was a baseline throw in, spot throw, but we were going the other way with the ball, then we do and should bounce the ball, number one. And two, we would always take a position between the player throwing the ball in and the sideline, always. No matter where the spot of the throw in is, we always take the outside position by mechanics. Okay. All right. What are we going to talk about in terms of the coverage here, guys?
We're going to talk about the trail real quick. We're going to talk about his positioning and his movement. Before we even have the throw in, we just take a look. The trail really starts off in a bad position. He's really not in position to see any holding or grabbing by any of these 4 matchups that's on the floor right now. But if you take a look at the trail, there's a lot of space between the player in blue who's going to receive the ball and the official. That's the only spot where she can really retreat to get the ball. So if he would take a step to the sideline now before we have a throw in, I think he would be in great position for when she does catch the basketball. Let's roll it a little bit, Quinn, until she catches the basketball. Right here. Now, like I stated, you got to anticipate, and it's just a feel for the game. If he would have set up on the sideline, look at the look that he would have at this play right here. But instead, he accepts being straight line. Overall, guys, his lack of movement by the trail puts him in a stack position. He's straight line. And really, I mean, getting a good look is a big part. It plays a big part in how accurate we're going to be at play calling. And we can't get to a spot and just stand there. We have to be mobile on these plays. Even when she makes the pass into her teammate, he never moves from that spot. I would say reposition, readjust, but he never adjusts in the first place. So we can't have a readjustment. He just stands there and he's accepted being straight line on this play.
Very good. And I want to talk a little bit, I think, Quinn, if I'm not mistaken, about the slots position on this play.
Mhm.
So like Gerald's trail, I think the slot sets up initially in a poor position on this throw in. So if we can go back to the throw in. All right, so we've got the players all sort of stacked up across the baseline. If the slot is in a position right now where he's stacked with the players, he needs to move. And a lot of times, I think that the better positioning would be for the slot to move at least a step to his right. Would that be his right, Quinn?
Yeah.
Yeah, a step to his right and even curl out onto the floor. So he's looking, instead of being his shoulders parallel to the sideline, he's more at an angle and can look through the matchup that he needs to look through. You know, the other thing you'll notice, so, and then once the throwing occurs, the players move. Even if he was in a good position to start with, the players moved, and he didn't make any adjustment at all to any movement. And I don't think that's good. And as Gerald said, the trail also didn't make not only did he not make the initial adjustment, he didn't make a second adjustment on the, he's not in position to help referee the jump shot that occurs here. So he's stacked here, as Gerald mentioned. Now the lead's got a matchup he's refereeing. So the trails, what position is the trail in now, Gerald?
Stack.
Yeah.
Straight line.
So that might be, we could argue, we're going to say that's the lead's primary, but the lead's got another matchup in his primary off ball, right, Rick?
Exactly. Down there on the post.
Right. So, he could use a little help on this play, and he's not getting any from anybody. Now I think he ends up getting the call, but I think he just sort of sees it, luckily, out of the corner of his eye. But anyhow, those are the points we want to make about that play, right, Quinn?
Yep.
All right. Did we lose one? I think we missed one.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Did we?
No, we're good.
We're good.
Yeah, this is when Joe's going to talk about this rotation here.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, if we notice, we're going to concentrate on the lead right here. As the pass goes to the corner, you freeze it right there, Quinn.
Oh, sorry.
We're good.
Come on, Quinn.
As the pass goes to the corner, the lead is in rotation right there. Guys, you get right here and the shot goes up, we got to go back. We don't want to rotate into shots, into drives to the basket. We don't want to rotate on jump shots. If you start your rotation, you see a player ready to take a jump shot. It's simple. Just go back and get in the rebounding position.
No.
What should the lead be? What should he be officiating right now, Joe?
Right now, if he's going to complete his rotation, he should be refereeing the two players in the low post on the block right there, closest to him right here. He shouldn't be watching the jump shooter. He should be rotating and pick up the closest competitive matchup, which is the two on the low block closest to him.
And even if he goes back, he's going to still be watching that same matchup, isn't he? If he slides back, he's still going to referee that same matchup.
I didn't hear you.
If he goes back, he's still going to referee that same matchup, right, Gerald?
Exactly. He's still going to referee that same matchup. It's in his primary. That's his primary responsibility. So his matchup does not change. His responsibility does not change.
Lead us through the slot here for a second, Quinn.
Yeah, so actually, let me take this. I mean, the nice thing is the slot picks up the very late rotation, does a great job taking off to get back. But even more importantly, so we know the slot knows this rotation is happening. Too often what we see is we're in a great position. I mean, right here, the C's in a pretty good position to referee this jump shot. And too often what we see is when there's a rotation, the C just starts to back out. There's no need to back out here. we're in a good spot to referee this. So we're gonna see some other examples in the clips, but don't leave. I mean, it sounds silly almost even to say, but don't leave a good position for a worse position just because you think that that's what the book says you're where you're supposed to be, right? We've got to have positions to referee plays. And so in this case, the slot does a great job of staying with that jump shooter. You know, it's not like a really hotly contested shot here, but there is a player who comes out, you know, on her, and so we've got a good look at that. If I was going to make any adjustment at all as the slot, she does stay pretty parallel to the sideline. Might think about turning a little bit to get a little better view of sort of in between the jump shooter and her defender, but overall a great job of staying in a good position.
And that kind of leads me into one of my mantras. Don't settle for an okay position when you can fight and get a good position, and don't settle for a good position when you can fight and obtain an even better position. Let's get the best looks at plays, every single play that we can possibly get. And Quinn, you're exactly right. Had she stepped out just a step, a half a step maybe even, and turned just a little bit, she would have had an even better look at that closeout, and whether the shooter gets hit on the elbow or not, or whether the defender gets into her landing space. That player comes down and lands on the defender's foot and breaks her ankle. We need to see that play. So she's in good position. Could have been in an even better position.
And
Don't settle.
Just to add one more thing, those are habit kind of things. So those are things that as you're in your scrimmages, as you're in early season games, when you're stuck in a non-competitive game, you got to make sure you're still doing those things, because 99% of the time that good position is going to be fine. Nothing bad's going to happen, but that every 1 out of 100 times, that small adjustment that gives you a great position is going to be what you need to make the right call in an important moment. And that's what separates guys is getting that 1 in 100 play correct, because they had the foresight and the preparation to do the right thing every time.
And Quinn, if I may just say one thing here, and you guys are spot on, because repetition with the correct movements creates that muscle memory, and puts you in those positions. And just like you said, that's what separates good to great.
Very good. We'll move on.
All right, we're going to discuss how the trail is actually bringing the ball up the floor on this particular play, and watch how Trail actually comes out onto the floor, and he's anticipating and seeing that there's mild pressure. He sees how the defense is set up, so he stays back and behind and boxes in the players, anticipating that there may be a trap once he goes over half court, and he's in perfect positioning. Now, we're going to talk about C's positioning here, because this is still a transition play. Go ahead, Quinn. He's in perfect position in Trail to recognize any hacks on the ball handler. But if we could run it back, we'll see now, and I don't want to go too far in on Gerald's area, but he's just in perfect position. He's out on the court. He's seeing that there's no contact on the ball handler, but look at all the players that he has, and it shouldn't be his responsibility. C should be still engaged with his pack. He should be back somewhere near the table, and he should be looking across to help assist. But right now, he's taking himself out of the play. Most of the time, we think that a transition is over, and it surprises us, and This is where he needs to hustle and get back in position so he can be of value to this crew right now. But right now, he's out of position.
Joe, we had a nice time discussing this play situation here. Do you want to add anything to what Rick said about the slots movement or lack thereof?
Yeah, just a few things. Quinn, if you back it up just a little bit, just a little. So many times. You can keep going just a little bit more when he starts to retreat.
A little more.
Yes, a little more. But we talk right here is good. But we talk all the time about slot and transition, about refereeing downhill and not refereeing looking over your shoulder, refereeing backwards. Right now, if you see in the picture, there are 8 players in the picture and only the trail. Like Rick said, the slot official needs to be at midcourt to support the trail on this play. There's no reason to run to the free throw line extended just because you're the slot official. Get where you can see the play and help out the crew, and don't referee backwards. Right now, you're refereeing backwards.
So now we'll see him come back to the play, right?
He's going to come back to the play, and actually, when the ball gets into the front court, we're going to need him to make another adjustment, and we really don't make that adjustment right here, right here. We don't make that adjustment. We have to make a position adjustment here, and we have to get a good look. He walks right in back of the player from blue, and he accepts being straight line by the player from blue. We have to get good looks at plays.
To Rick's point, it's not clear to me that the trail is in the front court yet, right? This is still a transition play. I mean, we got to be prepared to help out our trail on this play, and we're going to see a really nice example of that in a couple of clips. But we don't do it here.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, positioning plays a key role in us getting our plays right.
Great commentary, fellas. Let's move to the next one. Rick, I think you'll like this one.
Oh yeah. This is the.
I get to start. Let me start with this guy first, though. Let me start with this guy first because this cracked me up. All right. So we got a sideline throw in. The first thing he does is he tells the number one that he's got a spot throw in. I don't know that you saw that, but yeah. So he's telling him he's got a spot throw in. I'm from the old school, and this is not a big deal, I guess, in terms of who wins or loses games. But I learned a long time ago that as an official, I don't practice it all the time, but the less you say as an official during a game, the better off you are. So I don't know of any play scenario in the game of basketball at any level where a player with a sideline throw in has the right to run it. You can't run the sideline on a throw in. If you've got a player at the high school level that doesn't know that, you got more troubles in your game than you're going to be able to deal with.
Right.
So I don't know why we tell, and this guy is going to tell, if I'm in a crew with this guy, he's going to be telling players they got a spot throw in on the sideline, and I'm not. I think, Gerald, you're going to talk about consistency a little bit in a little while.
Yes.
There's no point in telling a player that he's got, just put the ball in play. That's number one. Number two, it's a sideline throw in. The mechanics book says that it's highly recommended that we bounce the ball on all sideline throw-ins. And I do agree that we should have separation between the administering official and the player throwing the ball in. Why bounce the ball if you're going to stand right next to him? So this guy, this administering official creates space, but look how much space he creates. Let's do this. Go ahead and run it. Stop. So now stop it right there. So now we have a trail official who is refereeing space. He can't possibly, he has no credibility refereeing players. We can't even find him. He's gone. So he's done exactly what Gerald has talked about over and over and over again. He's moved in the opposite direction from where the players are moving. He's moving, he's gone away from everybody. Makes no sense. Now, if there were players, if there was a matchup in the backcourt on that throw in, then yeah, he needs to get back there and referee that, be prepared to referee that matchup. And sometimes teams will run a play where they run from the front court to the back court and they're defending. I mean, you got to see that coming. You got to back up to it and you got to be there prepared to referee it. But here, we're not refereeing anything at all from the trail position. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, in this particular play, we talked about the movement of C, and he evolved here because his first play, he moved almost as the player was getting the ball. Now he moves before he anticipates the pass coming to his side to the shooter, and he moves into the position. He steps down, and he positions adjusts perfectly because it puts him in a perfect place to where he can actually officiate multiple players. And if you see 21 starts to dribble up, but he kicks it back down to the deep corner, and C is in a perfect position to officiate both sets of players. He doesn't have to move much because he position adjusted early. If you go back, Quinn, you can run through the play. He is a perfect partner if the ball gets tipped out of bounds towards the baseline. He's a perfect partner to help if there's a foul or reach right there because lead is all the way across the court with that quick pass. So he's in perfect position, and we have to get into a mindset to position adjust, and that starts with pre-gaming and knowing who your players are on the court.
Very good. Gerald, this is the one where we said we're going to leave the lead alone on this one.
Let's go back to the throw in. Real quick, just we go back when he backs up. Right here is good. Only thing we want to say right here is good. Only thing we want to say about the lead is just knowing what's going on, knowing where your partners are on the court, just having court awareness. As the lead, you have to know that your trail is probably in the backcourt right now. So if the first pass is to the lead side in the corner, that's all the lead. We cannot expect the trail to be able to referee that play from the position he's in now. So just having court awareness and knowing that you're going to have to help the trail out on anything to that side, jump shot, drive. You have that play on lead side.
Very good.
Next one.
Yes, sir.
Right. All right. So this is, we mentioned a couple plays ago, the slot helping out in transition. Well, in that case, the slot not helping out in transition. Here we have a really great illustration of the C helping out in transition. So notice that, skip passes. So we have the ball coming up the court. The trail is in great position. The trail is exactly where he needs to be. The slot is exactly where he needs to be, just sort of at the front edge of this pack. And so we're going to have the offensive player comes between two defenders and actually gets fouled here. And because our slot is both in good position on the court and also aware that in a transition play, his responsibility is sideline to sideline, he's able to pick up this foul. This is not a situation where the trail did anything wrong. The trail, again, he's exactly where he should be. He can't possibly see this. And the slot is aware that there's a play his partner's going to have some trouble with and comes out and helps him. This is exactly what we want in transition, both in terms of positioning with where he is on the court, the slot is on the court, but also in terms of just helping out, right? Helping out on a tough play that's going to be tough for your partner to get.
All right.
Anything else?
Nope.
All right. All right.
Gerald, I believe you're going to start off taking us through this one.
Yes, as the ball comes, the ball is slot side right now, but let's concentrate on the trail right now. As the ball comes towards the trail, Quinn, and really, guys, you just freeze it right here for a second, Quinn. Guys, this is about meaningful movement, guys. Move with a purpose, guys. If you find yourself moving and your look at the play is not improving, then you're not having meaningful movement, probably. If we watch the trail right here, if the trail stays baseline, when number 5 Red receives the basketball, he's in excellent position to see offense and defense see right through the play. But for some reason, the trail, he goes right in back of Red 5 right here, freeze it here. And look at the position we put ourselves in, guys. We have to make meaningful movement, guys, meaningful movement. And as the ball is passed, we'll see the trail just takes another bad angle on this play. If you just let it roll a little bit, Quinn, the next pass right here, and we accept going behind players. We have to find angles where we can see through the offense and the defense, guys. That's going to increase our chances of getting plays right. We just have to be mindful of our movement on the court.
So the other thing to talk about on this play, I mean, Gerald sort of talked about we have trail moving out of good positions, taking worse positions. But let's also watch the C on this play. So the first thing to mention, the ball does come up C side. Clearly here, the C has recognized that he has this play, and he's coming out to referee this play. Now, as soon as he does, the guy starts dribbling back towards the middle of the court, passes the ball away. It happens, right? I mean, we all we can do is referee what's going on right now. It looks like it's going to be slots. He goes out to take it, and it goes away. We don't have a rotation here, although I'm hoping that when the ball was over there and from the slot, my lead should have been in close down. But it goes away, and now the C is going to go right back to home base at the free throw line extended. Okay. So this is just a good example of we make some adjustments as if we might have a rotation. The play goes back. We don't have the rotation. Fine, no problem. But what I think is even more important on this play, and Chuck alluded to this earlier, we've seen examples of people who were in bad positions moving to get an okay position, right? And sometimes that's just those are the cards you're dealt. But if you watch, and I'm just going to play this in a minute, just watch the C in the rest of this clip, and just watch the adjustments that the C makes. So we're going to have a little step back here. We're going to have a little step up here. Now another step back down here. The C takes no more than 5 steps here, but every one of those steps has a purpose. And the purpose is to get a better look at one of the off-ball matchups that he has. And it's not that he had a bad position to begin with. He had good positions, but he realized that one step up, one step down, a step off the court, a step on the court, whatever it was going to give him a better position. It was going to take him from a good look to a great look. And Gerald has mentioned that these are the adjustments. People get plays right because of these adjustments. It's the positioning. It's being in the right spot to see the play. And I think, it's one of the most underrated things in officiating are those small adjustments. And by the way, because we've seen 2 inbounds plays where we had issues, inbounds plays are plays just like every other play. They require those same adjustments. We don't just get to a spot and stand there and wait until the ball comes in bounds. So this is just a great example. It's off ball, again, a point of emphasis we heard about at the state meeting. And it's making minor adjustments to get great positions on plays.
Very good.
All right, next one.
Yes, sir.
All right. So you're gonna take the sort of trail C.
Yes, just the crew movement on this play, on this clip. We're gonna take it until we get into the front court. Right here. It's fine. Now, guys, if we look at this play, guys, this is a play that we talk about for years and years. Actually, Chuck, if you remember, Cove Senior 5 years ago wanted to put this in free throw line extended. We need to have good handoffs here. If we look, the ball is in the front court. This is the slot's primary position right now. This is his play. But if we look at the trail is still officiating this play. The slot is still officiating this play. Guys, this trail has to come off of this play right here in order for us to stay in sync here. And the slot official has to come out aggressively and referee this play, guys. Enough said on that play. We have too many eyes on the ball. But if we move forward just a little bit more, Quinn, we want to talk about the lead right here. Right here. Right here. That's fine. Now, let's look at our setup here. The trail is still on this basketball now. The slot is still on this basketball right now. Everything, refereeing 101, everything where the ball is located right now would tell the lead to do what? Rotate. We've always been taught where the ball is, the lead should rotate. But I don't need the lead right now to be refereeing 101. I need the lead to be refereeing 103. The lead has to recognize what his trail is refereeing. The lead cannot he has to step out of the box. What is refereeing 103? You have to step out of the box. You have to put yourself in the best possible position to be successful on every play, even if the manual say something different. What is it? It's doing things that cannot be found in the rule book, the case book, or the manual. Right now, let's look at the trail. The trail official is on the ball. The lead has to recognize that the trail official is on the basketball right now. And the best thing for this crew right now is for the lead not to rotate, even though the ball dictate that he should rotate. Because if he rotate, we're going to have the trail on the ball, the slot on the ball, and the lead is going to be on the same side as the slot. Nobody's officiating the matchup at the three-point line. Nobody's officiating the matchup in the paint. Nobody's officiating the matchup at the key. So guys, even though the manual tell us one thing, we have to be smart enough and use our basketball sense to know that a rotation is not the best thing for this crew right now. And the league really should know better not to have a rotation on this play right now. Court awareness. You have to read the floor, lead. You have to know that we're out of sync. Right or wrong, whether the trail is right or wrong on this play, the lead has to know that he cannot have a rotation right now on this play.
Okay.
So if we play this through just a little bit more, so after all this, so the ball gets tipped away into the backcourt, but that's a foul.
Right there.
You talk about freedom of movement. But right here at the division line, after this, when this ball is coming back in the front court, this is a foul. Okay. But again, we've gotten, I think, so off kilter here that we're just not, we're not really picking up on these things. Now we're going to have a play here. So we have the player in white dives after the ball, sort of, gains possession of it, I think, by the time he's sort of on his back. And we know right here, if we have a player on his back with the ball, we know we got to be ready to referee potential fouls. We got to be ready to referee a potential held ball situation. And in this case, we're also right up against the sideline. So we've also got to be able to referee a potential out of bounds play. And so this is a situation where, so again, we sort of get back here, but we're still pretty close to this play. And this is a play where I think even taking another step back might give us a little bit more perspective on the whole play. But even if we stayed right here, we might be okay. But then what happens? We take We actually get right here and we're just on top of it now. Okay. So there is, you know, we talk sometimes about getting closer to plays, but there is such a thing as too close. And on this play, I think this is too close. I don't know how we can really see, right? The player in white is on his back. If his head or hair happens to hit out of bounds, I don't think we can really see that here because we're just right on top of the play. So
Now, I think there's also a possibility the player for red leaned over and touched the ball while his right foot was on the line. We can't see that clearly, but the point is that the covering official in this play is really jammed up on the play. And once you have players down on the court floor like that, you don't want to stick your nose into that scrum. I can tell you that, because you don't know that you're going to have your nose still in your face when they come back up. What do you think about the lead official during this action, Rick?
Well, I mean, as we saw the clip run through, the lead official recognizes that, hey, we have a held ball, but I would like a sense of urgency, because when we have those multiple players in a held ball situation like this, you never know what could develop. We want to actually have all officials on deck, all hands on deck. And I would love to see the lead official come in with a little bit more urgency to help out that trail in this situation, just utilizing his voice, utilizing hand claps to get the attention of the players that, hey, we're Johnny on the spot. We're taking care of the situation. Let's come up clean. And even talking through situations. I mean, and one thing that I want to mention on this as well is our C, which is opposite the court. And as we can see, the coaches was calling a timeout during that particular time, but I'm glad to see didn't engage in with the coach and you know, coming in and signaling a timeout, because we have to know the status of the ball before we can actually, when this situation takes place, before we can actually either give a indication for a timeout or just let the play develop. In this sense, we ignored the coach because we didn't know the status of the ball, let the play develop, and as a result of that, we had a jump ball. But I would love the lead to come in hustling on this play and help out.
Yeah, I've always said when we have a scrum like that on the floor, I'd rather throw water on the pile before the flame breaks out.
Right.
What do you think, Gerald?
I think he's absolutely right. We need a little bit more urgency from the lead, getting in there to help out the trail on that play.
Quinn, I want to save this clip, by the way, because I was going to talk about the fact that the coach was trying to get a timeout on this. I want to save this clip for the game management folder that we're going to be using later, if you can make a note of that.
Yeah.
And then we have one more clip, I think, to talk about here, guys.
Yeah, this is just an interesting point. Given that these, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about things that go wrong in games. There are a lot of things that were done right in this game. And given that these three guys were available on this given night, I'm actually in this picture and I'm exactly where I should be. I'm sitting right here in the stands. Given that those three guys were available, I'm exactly where I am.
You were ready to go, though, in case somebody broke the line.
I was gonna give him the timeout, but oh well. All right, here we go. I think this is our last one.
Last clip. Hey, let's hold it right there before we even run this last clip. I just want everybody to keep in mind the last clip that we just saw, these are the same three guys, same game, same type of play, ball going from back court to front court. And guys, you're going to see this crew handle this play totally different from the way they handled it last time. So I just want to talk a little bit about consistency. Every time when we talk about consistency, what do we think about? We think about play calling, but consistency, guys, it's about our movement on the floor also. So if we're consistent with our movement on the floor, I think, guys, our play calling and our positioning will go up a whole lot. So when we think consistency, let's not think about just play calling. consistency, handling coaches, handling benches, and definitely our movement on the floor, because this clip right here is totally different from the clip we just saw. And the consistency is just not there. And we have to get there as an association, having consistency with our movement on the floor.
And Gerald, I got to agree with you there, because in this situation, it's 14-point game, 2 minutes left to go in the game, and the actual winning team is still pressing. So heightened awareness keeps this crew engaged on this particular play. So we see Trail bringing the ball up the court, and the ball is opposite Trail. So he actually steps onto the court. You can actually come as far as to that, almost to that center line, but he sees that he's going to hand it off, and he recognizes that his center accepts this play as soon as it goes over the half court line, is what we've been talking about. And he comes off of the play exactly when he sees that his C actually engages in on receiving this play. When that happens, you see him hustle to his new spot as slot. And what that tells the lead is, hey, I need to get over because my C forced a rotation there, and he should have. And we're in position now to receive this pass, which was a quick skip down to the post. And if we're not in position, if we didn't hustle to get here, we don't see that, hey, it may look like contact, but is there really contact? We don't have a good angle for that. So kudos to the crew on this one, to stay engaged even at this late increment in the game.
And a good rotation, you think, Quinn?
Yeah, so I was just gonna add, as we're, we have the ball coming up, C sideline, when the lead gets to the baseline, right? We want to be in close down here, right? Because it looks like it's coming up C side, and then and there we are, right? We're in a good spot, and now. Right, we've just come across midcourt, and now one of two things is going to happen. Either the ball is sort of going to settle here and we're going to have rotation, or we're going to have maybe a quick pass back to the middle of the court, right? We saw one, and we've already seen in this game that can happen, right? We've seen that happen. But in this case, the ball settles. The C has accepted this. The Trail is going to C, and all exactly at the same time, the lead recognizes that all that's happening, and he says, all right, well, I guess I better rotate. This is a great example of, all three officials being on the same page, all three officials knowing not only what they're supposed to be doing, but what their partners are supposed to be doing, and just reacting to that. I don't think you could draw this up much better at all three positions.
I agree. Go back to where the slot starts to go out to get that play. I want to conclude just with a couple of statements here.
Right here, or
just one more step. Okay, so he's going right there. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, right. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether I'm in a crew with two first-year officials or two of the, Quinn and Rick, or Quinn and Joe, whatever. Two of those guys get stuck refereeing with me. I'm gonna say the same thing in pregame, regardless of the experience of the crew. What I'm going to say is that when this isn't Gerald Moyd's way of officiating, or Rick McLean's way of officiating, or Quinn Morris's way of officiating. The book says, the manual says, slot goes out and gets this play aggressively. It's not even William Covington Sr. It's the book says it. William Covington Sr. is simply telling you what the book's telling you to do. So the slot's going to, what I say during our pregame discussion is, on this play, if the ball is clearly on slot side, if I'm the slot, I'm going to go out and pick this play up aggressively. I say aggressively because everything, as Rick mentioned, everything about the slot's body language here tells the other two people in the crew who can see him in their peripheral vision, oh, he's going out to get this play. There's no mistake about it. There's no question about it. He's not standing in a spot and looking back at it and we're wondering, does he have this play? He's going to get it. And the other thing I say is, if I'm going out that aggressively to get this play and this ball gets turned over right here, I'm going as fast as I can to the baseline. I'm not looking back. I don't know where the lead is. I don't know exactly what, look at the slot. He's hustling to get in position. If this ball gets turned over, he's in as big a trouble. He's as much trouble as the current slot, right? So I'm going to say I'm going as fast as I can to the baseline. I might not beat that play to the baseline, but I'm a hustle. And I'm not looking back. And if the slot and the trail, if we both end up at the baseline momentarily, because that's just the way it ended up, that's okay. We can work our way out of that. But if we both end up at the free throw line extended and there's nobody at the baseline, we got a problem. So I think, to pick up on what Rick has said several times in this clinic discussion, is it doesn't matter the experience level of your crew. These are the types of plays that we need to have a little talk about in pregame. Spend a couple of minutes talking about transition plays, this type of coverage, just to remind ourselves that this is how we're going to handle these plays as a crew. And then it's one thing to have a plan, but then you got to execute the plan, right?
All right.
Anything anybody wants to add? Because I've talked too long.
So the only thing non-film related, so I guess folks will be watching this the week of October 9th. Just a reminder then that next week on the 17th, the test opens. So go ahead and make your plans now to take the test, and don't wait. I think Cecil say it's going to be open for 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So don't wait until that last day. Go ahead and, figure out your plan. If you're taking it with other people, go ahead and schedule that. Don't wait until the 11th hour to do that. It is going to be a little shorter this year, but quite frankly, it's also in Dragonfly, so there could be some technological hiccups. If there are, don't call me. I'm not responsible for that.
Hey, we'll have a lot of fun.
But just go ahead and be aware that's going to be coming up the next week, and make a plan to do that.
Good reminder. Rick?
Hey, listen, preparation, stay prepared. And we can't stress the fact that get in the rule book, stay in the rule book, and those situations will come up in your games at some point this season. And
Gerald?
we have to know how to handle those.
Good job, Rick. Gerald?
Just be prepared, guys. Be prepared for anything, mentally, physically, and as always, be a good partner.
Excellent. Rick, thanks again for being with us.
Appreciate you having me.
Quinn, sign off, and we'll talk for just a minute after you've signed off, after you've gotten us out of this thing.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
We good?